did you at your schools, and you've buried undies there, and now it's time to do it here. So we'll go to a few different places just as we did at school, and we'll have a bit of a chat about some of the differences. Our place is sheep and beef, so pastoral and forestry. More than half the farm is in forestry. Some of it's been cut and replanted, and some of it is newly planted. So we'll have a look at the different soils at those sites. Okay, so this site here is an area that's had trees growing on it for about the last 28 years, and so it's been affected by the forestry that was here. We've got little pines here, but there were big pines in here that we've taken out, and we've left the macrocarpus, which you can see behind me, and they'll stay here for another 25 years until these pines are big. So I'm interested in how the soil has been affected by the forestry. So we're going to bury one of our pairs of undies here. I haven't got them all fancy pants like you guys did, but they'll do the same job. Okay, so just as we did at your schools, I've cut a slit in the ground here because we want to put the undies in straight up and down as much as possible. So that's what I'm going to do now. Slide it into the ground as far as possible and put the edge of the spade on it and slip it right down into the ground. And spread it out. A bit more. And then we want to tuck the soil up against it so that it's in good contact with the fabric, just showing. And then you know what comes next, don't you? It's the flag, so that you know where it is and can find it in 2 months' time to dig up again. Here we go, done. So our worm count right next to where we buried the undies. We're just taking out about a spade full of soil, making some observations. It's not particularly dark, but it's nice and crumbly, and we're going to have a look for worms through all of this. Can't see any sign yet. Lots of grass roots in there. But still can't see any worms. The sorts of worms that you have in your worm farms, if you've got a worm farm at school, they don't like living in soil, so we wouldn't expect to find those. But sometimes we find some native worms, but not today. Some of that soil is quite compacted from the machinery that's been through and harvested the trees, so the air can't get in so well. No worms in that site, which is what we found at some of your school sites too. Okay, so we're in some pasture here. This is what our sheep and cattle graze, and there have never been trees planted in this area, so it's just always been pasture, and we're putting it in here in the long grass behind a fence so that the cattle can't disturb the flag. Just same method into the split. Get even better this time. Close it up so that there's good contact between the soil and the material, fabric. Just poking out a little bit. Okay. Right, flag in so that we can mark the spot for taking it out again in 2 months' time. While we're here, we could have a look at some of the plants that are part of pasture, and they affect the soil. The plants interact with the soil, and the plants interact with the organisms, microorganisms that are in the soil, and they help to produce sugars that feed the microorganisms, and the microorganisms bring food to the nutrients to the plants. So there's an interaction all the time, and the sugar that the plants exude from their roots help to stick the particles of soil together so that air and water can get through the soil, so they develop good structure. And as with a lot of things, a mixture of plants is a really good thing. We don't want just one kind of grass or just one kind of clover or whatever. We do want a mixture, and we've got quite a few different things here. When you look at it, it just looks like green grass, but if you look a bit closer, you'll see that there are different things going on. And this time of year is a really good time to look, because it's the grasses are starting to go to seed. So let's just have a look at a few of them. Here is cocksfoot, because it's shaped somewhat like a rooster's foot. So we've got that one. This one is ryegrass, which is one that we often hear about. And you can tell ryegrass, when it hasn't got the seed on, you can tell ryegrass, because right down in the base of the grass, it's got little red stripes on it, like striped pyjamas. This one's Yorkshire fog, because when you look across a patch of it, it looks like a fog. So that's Yorkshire fog. This one I don't know the name of, but it's another grass. And we've got meadow sweet here. That's I believe it's a native grass. It's quite sweet smelling when it's all flowering, and or when you make hay with it, it smells sweet. We've got lotus major in here, which is a legume. It's in the clover family, and they're all really high quality feed. They're nitrogen fixers, so they have organisms in their roots that take nitrogen from the air and put it into the soil, and that nitrogen then feeds the other green plants that take it up. You can see that it's got a flower on it that's bigger than a clover, but it's the same basic shape. And there are lots of other plants that are legumes. There's clovers, there's lucerne, gorse, broom. They're all legumes, and they all fix nitrogen from the air into the soil. What else have we got here? Oh, there's some red clover. Red clover, and you can see in that flower, you can see that although it's smaller, it's the same basic shape as the lotus major flowers. It's really a characteristic sort of pea-shaped flower. Peas are legumes as well, peas and beans, and they have even bigger flowers, but they're the same sort of basic shape. All important, an important group of plants. Full of soil to do a worm count on. It's not looking too good here either. What have we got in here? Smaller crumbs, but it's much softer soil than the stuff on the side of the track where the forestry had been taken. This is a soil that's been in pasture until recently, and we've just got 5-year-old trees behind me. So there's still a lot of grass under the trees, and it'll take some years before the natives start coming in. No worm. Oh, here we go, a worm! Found a worm. Yeah, more up near the, oh, here we go, another one. They must like it up near the grass, near the surface. So neither of those are compost worms. Okay, 2 worms, and we've got to bury our undies in a slip that I prepared earlier. In. There we are. Get the grass out so that we've got good contact between the soil and the undies. Without pulling them back out again. There we go. So I reckon in 2 months' time that'll be thrown over by the grass again, so we'll really need the flag for this lot. Okay. Just wanted to make a comment about forestry, that often it's said that natives won't grow under pines, but what you're seeing behind me here was a pine plantation 5 years ago, and it's all native. The undergrowth is all native, and we're getting it regenerated and planting some new trees in here as well. But yeah, it's just not so that natives won't grow on the pine. Okay, we're going to put one in the garden as well. See if I can just make the soil better or worse. So it's really easy to kind of split in here. Nice and soft soil. Slip that in. Close up the split. Put in our flag, just like we usually do. Familiar with that now. And I'm going to fill up a soil sample bag, which you all will have done at the school, at the sites that you've chosen. Bag. Fill it up. Try not to put any big bits of chunks of other stuff, roots or leaves or rocks. There's nice and full. Zip it up. Put a label on it. 3 o'clock. Bag. Put it in the box and send it away for a soil test. Okay, so you've seen that we grow trees as well as grass, pasture, and one of the things we want is for the trees to be able to keep growing and not be chewed up by possums, or have the birds that nest there have their eggs stolen by possums or rats or whatever. So we're always needing to kill the predators. Not their fault they're here, but they're not meant to be here. So we've got 3 different kinds of ways of catching predators. There's the Tim's trap, which we put an apple inside there. There's a mouldy one in there at the moment. And we pull the string on the back to set the trap. And when the possum is attracted by the apple, it breaks its neck really, and it kills it really quickly. So it's known as a humane trap. And as is this one. This one's more for stoats, and hedgehogs sometimes get in it too. And inside we've got the trap. They like going through tunnels, so there's a little tunnel there for them to follow, and they like raw egg. They quite often steal our chicken eggs, but when they go through there they have to run over the trap, and again that kills them very quickly. So although we want them dead, we don't want to make them suffer. And this one's not a trap, it's a bait station. And you turn it upside down to fill them, and we've got some baits there which are toxic. The possums will eat those and die. Actually open this one by pulling the bottom out, putting the bait in there. And when you've handled bait like I just did, and you go and wash your hands. So we're back where we started. Still no mountain showing, but you've seen around the farm a little bit, and I look forward to seeing you in person in your classrooms and at your schools again before too long.